Hello friends, welcome to Code Crash Coding. In this video, we are going to learn the interview questions for Java on the topic of constructors and methods. So the basic question that we need to cover in this video is what is the difference between the constructor and method inside a Java class. So this is a sample class that I have created. The name of the class is test2. Inside this class, we have a main method. Currently, no implementation is provided inside the main method. What we will do, we will try to first create the constructor and method for this class, and let's see how we can declare a constructor and how to declare a method. So we know the basic properties of constructor, like the name of the constructor should be same as the class name, and the constructor does not have any return type. Also, we have seen that there are two type of constructors: default constructors and parameterized constructor. So what is the difference between a default and parameterized constructor? So when you declare a parameterized constructor, so no default constructor is implicitly provided by the Java. So we will learn that in detail. So let's first declare one constructor. So it should be same as the class name. So my class name is test2. So I will declare with the same name test2, then provided the round brackets and then the curly braces. So this is our constructor now. And inside this constructor, you can declare or initialize the variables. So let's declare one print statement here, sysout. Inside this print statement, we will say inside constructor, and now we will declare one method. So this is our constructor here. So this is the scope of constructor. After that, we will declare one method. So how to declare a method? You need to provide some access specifiers. So we will say here public. After that, you need to provide the return type of a method. So if you want something to be returned from the method, then that particular data type you can provide like integer, float, boolean. But we want nothing to be returned from the method. So in that case, you need to say void. So void is the keyword that is used when nothing to be returned from the method. And here we will name the method. Let's say name of method is show, then the round braces, and then the curly braces. And inside this curly braces, you need to provide the implementation of this particular method. So what this method will do, that you need to provide here. So currently we will just print one statement here, sysout, and we will say show method inside show method. So in this way you can declare a constructor and the method inside a class. So we have already one method which is the main method, so that is also declared here. Now we will understand the theory behind the difference between the constructor and methods, and again we will come to this code. So see, a constructor is used to initialize the state of an object, while as a method is used to expose the behavior of an object. So constructors are basically used to initialize the variables or the state of an object, and method is used to perform some task. Let's say if you want to add two numbers, then you will declare a method called add, and you will provide the implementation to add the two numbers. So let's first see this in our demo. So let's say here you have one variable. Let's declare variable int num, which is of type integer, and currently no value is assigned to this variable, right? So what we will do, we will initialize this variable inside this constructor name equal to 1. So here we have initialized it, and here we will print that. Let's print that also. So plus num, and here in the method also we will print that number. That's plus num. Now inside the main method, you need to create the object of this class. So how to create the object? With the help of class name test2 equals to object obj. You can provide any name. This is like a reference variable. You can provide any name to this variable, and then with the help of new keyword and again the class name, which is test2. So we have created the object here, and now we will run this code. Let's see what we get the output here. test2.java. See here we are getting the output inside constructor and one. So particular this statement we are able to print. So how this statement is getting printed? We haven't called this constructor, right? Here we have just created one object. So that that is the main difference between a constructor and method. So we don't need to call the constructor. Constructor is automatically called when we create the object. See, here we have created the object, so automatically our constructor is being called. And inside this constructor, we have the statement inside constructor and the value of num. So that's why we are able to print this inside constructor, and num value is initialized to 1. Now, if we want to call this show method, so we need to call this. While for the constructor, we don't need to call the constructor at the time of object creation itself, the constructor is called. Now, if we want to call this method, so we need to make use of this object that we have created. So obj, then provide the dot, and this particular method we need to call. So we need to say show. And if we save and run this code now, so see, now we are able to get this inside show method and also the value of num, because the value of num is in the constructor updated to 1. So that's why in the show method also we are able to get the value of num as 1. So you observe the difference here, how to call the constructor and how to call the method. So see, a constructor is invoked implicitly. The method is invoked explicitly. That means a constructor, we does not need to call the constructor. It is invoked implicitly. While to call a method, we need to make use of the object. Another difference is a constructor must not have a return type and a method must have a return type. So here you can see, now this is a show method. So it has a return type called void because it is not returning anything. So we have declared it as void. And here for the constructor, we does not have any return type. Also you can see here for the main method, the return type is void. So that is also one of the difference. Another difference here is a constructor name must be same as the class name that we have already seen, and a method name may or may not be same as class name. So method name can be anything, like you can have the method name same as the class name or any different name. And the last difference is the Java compiler provides a default constructor if you don't have any constructor in a class. So if you don't provide a constructor in a class, by default a Java constructor is provided. If I remove this constructor here, if I remove this constructor, then what will happen now? By default a constructor will be provided because now we don't have a constructor in our class. Let's run this code. Now see, now we don't have any constructor, so that particular constructor part is not printed because we don't have in our code. But there is no error, right? Because at the time of object creation, now the default constructor is called. When we don't provide any constructor, then by default Java implicitly calls the default constructor. So here you can see now inside show method the value of num is 0 because we don't have initialize this particular variable called num. I hope you understand the difference here. Now moving towards the next question. So this is a code here. Let me show this code in the editor here. Now this is the code we have. We have a class called test. Inside this class we have a variable of type integer and a main method. And inside this main method, we are creating an object of this class test, and the name of object is test. And after that, we are trying to print this particular variable. So what will be the output of this code? So as we don't have any constructor here, see, you are not able to say any constructor here because it is not written in the code, right? So by default, a default constructor implicitly will be called by Java. And what will be the output of this code? Test.i. What will be the value of this I? Because it is not initialized, right? So by default, it will be initialized to default value. So what is the default value for integer? It is 0. So this particular statement will print 0. Let's run this code. So see, we are able to get here 0 because this is an instance variable, and instance variable, if they are not initialized, then they are initialized to the default value. Now let's move towards the last question in this video. So same question again, what is the output of below Java program? So let's copy this program inside our editor. Let's copy this program here. Let's paste it here. Now, what is written in this particular code? Here we have a class called test. Inside this class, we have two variables of type integer, test A, test B, and here we have provided a constructor. See, this is a constructor with the same class name, and this is not a default constructor. This is a parameterized constructor because we have two parameters here of type integer A and B. So whatever parameters we will get here, we will assign this to our instance variable test A and test B. And inside this main method, we are trying to create the object here. Now here we are getting the error. So this is a compile time error. So this particular code will give you a compile time error. Why? Because here you have declared a constructor, right? And here you are calling a default constructor. So if you have provided a constructor, then Java will not implicitly provide you a default constructor. If I remove this constructor here, if I remove this parameterized constructor, then there will be no error, because at this in this case the Java will call a default constructor. So there will be a no error. This program will run and you will get the values as 0, 0, because these are the instance variable that we have seen in the previous question. Now if I paste this parameterized constructor, then Java will show, it will say, see, I don't have any default constructor here. So how I can generate this particular object? If you have provided a parameterized constructor, then you need to pass the parameters. So if you want to run this code, so you need to pass these two parameters here for this particular parameterized constructor. Let's say I pass here 10, 20, then there is no error, right? Because this was expecting two parameters and now we have passed the two parameters here. So what will happen is 10 will be assigned to A, 20 will be assigned to B. Then A's value will be assigned to test A and B's value will be assigned to test B. And here you will be able to print these values. So the output will be 10 and 20 in this case. Let's run this code. See, now we are getting 10 and 20. So that was some of the questions for the difference between constructor and methods and the basic behavior of constructor. We will see another questions related to Java topics in the next video. Till then, if you like this video, click on the like button and also provide your feedback in the comment section. Thank you for watching.